Welcome to another Rolled In Reacts episode. The owner of this car had tried lifting their truck together with a friend, but it just ended up causing a big mess with a broken suspension and messed up drivetrain as a result. Customerstates tried lowering the car by himself, but it went a bit so-and-so. That's one very unhappy wheel bearing if I've ever seen one. This guy rolled into the shop with his truck saying that shifting gears feels like moving a spoon through a jar of cold honey, and this is what the transmission looked like once the mechanics opened it up. Customerstates was driving home from work when it started to smell like burnt popcorn in the cab, and I also noticed the car pulling to the right. And when you have more water than oil coming out of your engine, it wouldn't be too bad of an idea to go buy a lottery ticket. And this customer didn't give his full name when signing the repair order, but apparently just wrote M. Silikonovich. Customerstates doesn't think the car finds her attractive anymore. This car came in because the customer complained about a loud noise when going into third gear, and this is what the mechanics found. This car last saw some fresh oil 38,000 miles ago. And this mechanic caught a potential customer in the wild. Cars and women are pretty similar, just gotta rub them the right way until they get happy. This Chevy Tahoe rolled in because it needed some new rims and tires after the customer had 2 blowouts on the highway but had kept driving because they were late. This car rolled in after the 4-wheel drive had suddenly stopped working as the customer had been going up a muddy 30-degree hill while out on a camping trip. The owner of this car came in after they had tried to fix a clunk sound by themselves, but it wasn't super successful. Customer came in with a whining differential after they had been towing a trailer full of oversized gummy bears filled with sand for a local beach party. And sometimes, mechanics actually do get free lunches at work. Customer states, car jerks a lot and almost stalls whenever I try to start in the middle of a hill. And this customer came in saying that ever since they hit a curbside last week while going to work, their car has felt kinda strange. And this SUV was in for some new tires, and the mechanic went to check on the spare tire when he found that the customer had her own version of an aquarium in the spare tire well. Customer came in saying that their car has had issues starting ever since they borrowed it to their grandson, who went to see his girlfriend, who apparently lives down in Arizona. This car came in with a handful of electrical issues and trouble starting after the customer had installed a new car battery by herself. And the owner of this car is actually a giant rodent disguised as a human being. This car was in because it had a rattling sound coming from the engine. Customer states, steering wheel wobbles at higher speeds. How it feels like going to the bathroom after you've had 2 large coffees, you've been driving home from work, but there was absolutely nowhere to pull over on the freeway, so you just
took it like a man.
Yummy. And this car came in with some strange noises when going over speed bumps after the owner's son had borrowed it to go on a cross-country mini vacation with his friends. This customer rolled in complaining about hearing a clunka-dunka-doo-doo sound when pulling out of his driveway ever since another shop had done a wheel alignment for them. This Ford F-150 rolled in because the radio and cabin fan would randomly turn themselves on after the customer had done some wiring work under the hood a couple of weeks ago. This Chevy SUV rolled in after the customer said it had started to accelerate really badly ever since they let their buddy tune it for cheap. Customer states, took my car track racing for the very first time, but I think I must have pushed it too hard. Please advise. This truck came in right as the customer was about to pay $9,450 in cash for it, but the mechanic thankfully helped the customer dodge a pretty rusty bullet. The owner of this car came in saying that his car gets way too excited when he fills it up. Customer states, clutch has started to rattle during idle and it feels kinda weird shifting gears. The owner of this car came in saying that his cabin fan has started sounding like Tarzan screaming for help. Customer states, clicking sounds when turning. Customer states, car sounds like a washing machine with rocks in it. Please advise. Customer states, there's a draft in driver's cab at higher speeds. Please advise. Turned out that the customer had hit a smaller manhole cover that someone had misplaced. Customer states, help! My car keeps shaking hands with the milkman. And the owner of this car had tried replacing brake pads on it for the first time, but couldn't figure it out, so he had driven it to the shop, and this is the damage that his little trip caused. When this car rolled into the shop for some bodywork, the customer said that he had been driving on a small private road out in the forest and had pulled over next to a house to take a picture of a tree, when the house owner suddenly ran out and started arguing with him and then ended up chasing him with a boomstick as he was driving off. The owner of this car came in saying that the vanity mirror doesn't want to open. And this car apparently likes to party all the time. And this Nissan had some suspension work done at another shop, but had to come in after the customer had heard a loud pop while driving on the freeway. When you have passenger safety in mind, but it doesn't quite go all the way. And the owner of this car had installed sporty air suspension by himself, but still complained about clunking sounds when driving. And this car came in with an exhaust leak and loud noises during acceleration after the customer had built and installed their own muffler. Tell me your car needs a new water pump without telling me your car needs a new water pump. As good as new! And this car came in with a pretty decent oil leak after they had done an oil change at a quick lube shop that apparently forgot to tighten the oil filter properly. And this customer's vehicle had started to make some extra creamy dark chocolate fondue after it hadn't gotten an oil change in over 55,000 miles. Customer came in complaining about a ticking sound coming from the engine and also said that he does all regular maintenance on the car himself. Customer states, funky smell in driver's cab. Could have been a lot worse. Customer states, hit something on the highway while on the way to the airport. Please check and advise. Customer states, installed a new coolant cap by himself and thinks that's why he's losing so much coolant. This customer came in with their Jeep complaining about a noise when driving, and this is what the mechanics found. The owner of this car came in saying, there's something wrong with my armrest. It doesn't close like it should. Customer came in saying that their heating had stopped working after they recently had a new head gasket installed at a local repair shop. And this car had quite the limping problem. This car came in with quite the leak. Customer states, extensive exhaust rattles at all speeds. Please make the car stop sounding like a tin jar full of change when accelerating. Customer states, side mirror is like my wife's mood. You never know where it's going. This car was in for a new battery when the mechanics discovered it was pretty crowded in the driver's cab. The owner of this Volkswagen SUV came into the garage saying, my Volkswagen has started to think it's a Tesla. It tries to take turns even when I say 9. And this customer apparently had his own little mini garden in the trunk. Customer states, took his wife track racing with her new BMW for the first time but ran into some trouble and wants to know what's wrong with it. And this customer wanted to drive their tires to the very last mile. This car had its own little portable car show on the dash. It ain't safe, but it sure is fun. And you have to be some kind of genius if you think that installing an electric control module for a car inside a taillight is a good idea. And this customer came in with quite the oil leak and apparently signed the repair order as duct tape Jesus. The owner of this car said that it doesn't roll, but just jiggles down the road and didn't know why. And this, folks, is why you should be extra careful letting quick fix repair shops work on your car. And this car came in with a handful of different problems. This car came in with its engine totally destroyed after the owner's cousin had tuned it in his improvised barn garage just 3 days prior, saying that he had mostly worked on tractors and that an engine is just like any other engine under the sun. This car rolled in with a pretty well done clutch. Customer came in saying that he has a loud thumping sound, but only when flooring it. Customer states, weird sound whenever they step on the gas pedal, thinks there's something stuck underneath their vehicle. This Dodge Charger was in for some differential work after the customer had done a few donuts at the local mall parking lot. As good as new! This guy came in saying that he had taken his girlfriend on a camping trip with his car, but that the car had felt kinda strange when taking sharp turns ever since. The owner of this Kia came in because it wouldn't start, and this is what the mechanic found. And this customer came in asking for some new blinker fluid. And hopefully this guy has some good insurance. This Nissan X-Trail came in after the customer's girlfriend had lent it to her ex-husband, who had all about totaled the front suspension after he slid into a curb while trying to do a handbrake turn in front of her in order to try and impress her to get her back. And this car rolled in after the owner had tried replacing the ball joints on it by himself. And this customer had tried to do an engine swap by themselves, but had to come in to get some help. The owner of this truck came in saying that his window sounds like a scene out of Commando. This customer's Toyota came in sounding a bit unhappy. And this customer's Audi came in because the dash decides to throw a party at precisely 28 miles an hour. Customer came in with this wonderful piece of German engineering, saying they were accelerating pretty hard one day when they suddenly heard a little bop sound, and the engine has been misfiring and running rough ever since. This customer had done some wiring work by himself, but it didn't go so well. And this car definitely came in right on time for some new wheel bearings. And this customer came in saying that his car makes more of a noise than a vroom noise and wanted it looked at. Customer states, my car's got the crabs, please advise. Must be that new extra low viscosity synthetic oil. The owner of this car came in because they had a terrible clunking sound and said that it feels like driving a hovercraft after they had done some frame repair at another shop a few months ago. This car had started making its very own homemade coolant broth. Thankfully, the customer's car insurance covered all the repair costs. Customer states, car doesn't want to stop anymore, please advise. This vehicle apparently thinks that whoever's inside of it is better off with the doors locked. And this car had said its very last knock-knock joke. This car came in with a bit of a leak. When your car is your transportation, living room, office, and bedroom all in one. And this is what happens when you keep hitting those curbs faster than normal speeds. The owner of this car was out driving with his wife when they suddenly hit what looked like a decorative metal duck that had fallen out of a pickup truck in front of them on the highway. The owner of this Dodge 2500 came in after they had installed a lift kit on it by themselves and wanted the mechanic to make sure everything looked good. And this car rolled in because it had started to lose quite the amount of oil after another shop had done some engine work on it. The owner of this car had borrowed it to his grandson who went camping over the weekend, but when he got it back it just wouldn't start. Customerstates installed a couple of sport windshield wipers that she found on Temu, but thinks they're a bit too fast for her car and wants the regular ones instead. Smoky smoky! This car makes its very own truffle chocolate. Looks great! This Opel Astra rolled in because it had major brake problems after a gas station repair shop had done some work on the brakes but had forgot to properly secure one of the calipers because they were busy working another car. This car was in because the customer said it, quote, handled like a 89-year-old lady trying to do a pole dance. And this bus driver apparently wanted to drive the tires to their very last mile. This customer came in saying that their truck has started to run warmer than normal, and this is what the mechanics found. This vehicle rolled in because the engine was running really poorly and had started to run pretty hot. Turns out that whoever did the last oil change, which was only 2 months ago, had put a mixture of ATF and engine oil into the engine, and told the customer that they had done an engine flush to increase fuel efficiency. Customer came in saying that they hit a hole in the road and heard a scraping sound and wanted the mechanic to have a look underneath. This car came in because the customer said that they can almost turn their steering wheel 90 degrees while still going in a straight line. The owner of this car came in for a loud grinding noise at all speeds. The mechanic found that the customer had been driving on a spare tire for about 3 months, which was installed the wrong way, and that the spare had caused some major damage to the car's brake rotors and brake calipers. This car was in because the manual parking brake had started to identify as an automatic. And this Saab came in because the horn had stopped working. The owner of this car rolled in because he had kept hearing a clunk sound when going over bumps and scraping sounds during acceleration. The mechanics found that someone had done quite the interesting job of keeping part of the frame together. Customerstates installed a used radiator, but now I have this clunking sound when going over bumps. Please advise. The owner of this car came in saying that his wife likes to hit things fast, including curbs. This customer had started renovating his brakes but had created a piece of modern art instead. And this car was in for an oil and filter change when the customer said, "Also, if you could please help me open this safe, it would be great. I must have misplaced the keys somewhere." And this mechanic unintentionally proved that he has guardian angels by his side. This car rolled in for an inspection after the owner had installed some Lambo doors and a home-built carbon fiber body kit. And when your engine oil starts looking all glittery, it's probably too late for an oil change. This truck was in because it had started clunking at all speeds after the customer had tried adjusting the ride height manually by cutting the springs. And this customer was in because they needed a new fuse box, but the mechanic also noticed this. And the owner of this car came in saying, "I have this weird feeling that my car actually wants me to go faster and faster. Could you check it out?" This Ford Focus just rolled in because it had starting issues, occasional knocking sounds, and really bad suspension, even though the owner said that he had recently repaired it himself. This customer was in because he said he had a clunking noise when turning, and this is what the steering rack looked like. This customer had apparently designed and installed their very own anti-theft system for their classic Volkswagen. Customer states, "I don't know why, but my brakes are squeaking. Please check and advise." Thank God for Steam and Kirscher tools. This vehicle came in because the customer kept finding holes everywhere in the interior and couldn't figure out what was causing it. Turns out that the vehicle had a second owner with sharp teeth and a long tail, living in the trunk. This Dodge Ram 1500 was in because the owner had a noise at all speeds, and especially when turning, after they had done some work on the suspension, and this is what the mechanics found. This customer came in complaining about a leak. The owner of this car came in for an inspection after they had just got it at a bargain price at a local auction. The mechanics discovered that it wasn't such a bargain after all. This customer was in with their forklift because it would occasionally shut off on them after they had done a little quick fix repair job on the battery using a thin copper wire and lots of electrical tape. And this customer had installed an extra backup light, all by himself. The owner of this car came in saying that they had a clunking sound and that their friend had fixed it for them, but came in because it still clunks when turning. The owner of this Dodge Ram came in because the engine had just given up on him in the morning as he was headed to work. The mechanics found the engine to be pretty much bone dry due to an oil leak caused by a bad oil pan gasket. The customer had been driving it like that for quite a while and hadn't noticed anything besides the engine gradually getting louder during acceleration. This car was in because the rear brakes were stuck after the customer had it sit on their driveway for a few years with the parking brake engaged. This customer came in to get a price quote on a totaled car they had purchased and refurbished by themselves. The shop owner told the customer that they should go back home and continue refurbishing it some more. Customer states, "Heard a boink sound and then I had to pull over." Turns out that the customer had just installed a new wheel bearing at another shop, but they apparently hadn't tightened the axle nut properly. This Chevrolet Tahoe rolled into the shop because the owner said he was working on turning his car into a perpetual motion machine, but had just turned it into a perpetual problem machine. Customer states, "I know somebody who can fix it for less." Customer came in saying that her stepdad had fixed her power steering recently, but that something wasn't quite right and wanted the mechanic to have a look. And this car was in because it had lots of white smoke coming out the exhaust. Apparently, the customer had been replacing the head gasket by himself, but left the hood open over the night because his neighbor came over and invited him to a barbecue party. But the next morning, rain had almost flooded the engine. And this customer's favorite movie villain is the Joker. And this customer came in as there's a weird sound coming from underneath their truck when they accelerate. The mechanic discovered that the drive shaft was really beat up, and when asked about it, the customer said that they had just been towing a horse trailer up a hill not too long ago. And these mechanics had found one of the many hiding places that 10 mils have. When you love Fast and the Furious, but you're on a tight budget. And this customer apparently thinks oil changes are a scam and therefore hadn't had one in quite a while. And the owner of this car came in because it had a really loud exhaust sound after they recently had another shop install a lowering kit for them, which they had bought off of Facebook Marketplace. And this customer came in saying they had too much blinker fluid. Nice. Customer came in saying, "Radio was playing my favorite tune, so I turned it up while I drove through a neighborhood I usually stay away from. And I think I must have hit a swarm of large bugs or something, because I kept hearing these popping sounds. Could you check it out?" The owner of this SUV came into the shop saying that it feels like driving a fishing boat that's dragging its tail ever since they heard a loud metallic not too long ago. This customer was in because they had a rattling sound coming from underneath the car. and the owner of this car had made and installed a pretty creative cat anti-theft system. This Pontiac Montana just rolled into the shop because the owner had a hard time passing other cars on the freeway after a recent oil change at a local lube shop. Turns out that whoever did the oil change apparently put what seems to be hair conditioner instead of oil into the engine. This car was in for an oil change, but the mechanic couldn't sit in the cab for very long, as the customer had installed their very own signature smell air freshener in the back seat. The owner of this car came in because his car ran rough after he'd let a guy from Craigslist install a new timing belt for him in exchange for a crate of 12 chickens. Choo choo! And this customer was really afraid to lose his custom bumper, so he secured it in his very own way. This car rolled into the shop because the owner said that they can feel the car leaning heavily to one side when driving. Eventually, the customer confessed and said that he had recently tried doing some repairs on the rear suspension, while at the same time playing beer pong with his friends in the garage. And it's not only waiters that get tips, sometimes mechanics do too. Customerstates thinks there's a beetle in one of his washer nozzles chain-smoking Newports. Customer came in with their old Volvo saying it had gotten really hard to get in gear, and this is what the mechanics found. This customer came in saying they had a slight vibration in their steering wheel and wanted it looked at. This truck came in because it had literally started falling apart after the owner had done some work on the subframe by himself, but he got hit with some instant karma instead. And this car came in because the wheels kept falling off after the customer had installed the wrong lug nuts. And this car apparently likes its gaskets. Well done. Customer states, my Hyundai has brake issues, but it wasn't that long ago since I switched rotors. Do you think it could be the brake pads? Customer states, hit what seemed to be a stick horse on my way to work, but damn thing must have been made of titanium. This truck rolled in after the customer had bought it for $1 off of Facebook Marketplace and wanted to see how it looked underneath. The mechanic said that it looks like the price was set just right. Customer states, car clunks and is difficult to drive in a straight line after another garage repaired the rear control arm. The owner of this classic Mercedes came in saying that he thinks he hit a squirrel while on his way home from visiting his family and wanted the mechanic to have a look. This car had some starting issues, even after the owner had replaced the battery by himself. The mechanics popped the hood open and this is what the battery poles look like. Peekaboo! How to know that car engineers and car mechanics are two different types of people. And we finally found some footage of the instructor who's been teaching all quick lube shops on how to do an oil change. Extra dark chocolate drip, anyone? Customer states, was driving home from work and heard a loud pop. The owner of this car came in because they had some major brake problems right after they had replaced calipers together with his little brother, who's apparently called Little Jimmy Bucksnort. Customer states, my wipers think that the windscreen is bigger than what it actually is. And this customer was in for a tire rotation on his Tesla when the mechanics discovered that the customer had installed a mini gym for his corgi dog in the trunk. Turns out the customer was preparing his dog for this year's Corgi National Race, but also to beat Ivan Drago. And this car came in with the radiator holding on for dear life. And this car rolled in on a tow truck because it had a broken CV axle after the customer said that they had started hearing a strange noise not too long ago, but had just kept on driving. And this customer came in saying, "Took my truck off-roading for the first time since buying it new, but something's wrong with the 4-wheel drive. Please check and advise." And this customer said that the steering wheel goes up and down uncontrollably whenever they take turns. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and until next time.